1500 BC, the Minoan civilization. But apart from the cruise ships that offer that excursion there, big percentage of the visitors of the island come from England, Scandinavian countries, Czech Republic, Romania, German, the Netherlands, and they stay in all-inclusive hotels. So from operated by those big operators like TUI. So they have charter flights. They come here and they stay at a hotel. Everything is offered in that same hotel, and they enjoy their vacations. So the ferry from Athens is a 9-hour ride. That's why it's mostly a night ferry. We do have some day ferries as well, but most of the Greeks, we will prefer the night ferry. And if we are 2 or 3 people, then we will also rent a cabin. It has a shower, it has all the necessary amenities that you need, and it makes the trip more pleasant. So there are several ferry companies that operate this route from Athens, Piraeus, to Crete. Ancient harbor of the city of Heraklion, the old harbor. That's why we will later on say a few things about that fortress that you see on your right-hand side, right in front of you. Just a general introduction about the island of Crete, which happens to be the largest island of Greece and the 5th biggest of the Mediterranean, after, not in the right order though, Cyprus, Sicily, Corsica, and Sardinia. Crete is number 5, and number 1 when we're talking about the Greek islands. So it is an island of 32,000 square miles. 3,200 square miles. The whole Greece is 52,000. So 3,200 square miles, that's the area of Crete. And if you look on the map, we are at the southernmost part of the Aegean Sea. And it has a rectangular form with some peninsulas sticking out here and there, but the rough shape is like a rectangle. So it's very elongated. It's 160 miles long from east to west, and the width varies from north to south, from 7 miles to 32 miles. So you have some really narrow areas, and you have some wider. And Crete is a mountainous island. That's why the Cretans had always been people that culturally, not socially, they were introverted. They were not fearful captains and sailors and fishermen. Their agricultural economy and their cultural identity relied on their land, not on the sea that surrounded the island. Unlike the people of Mykonos, unlike the people of Patmos, who had to leave the island in order to find the necessary resources for their survival, the people of Crete already had what they needed. So they had wide olive groves, they had fresh water, streams here and there. They had mountains, the slopes of which could be easily accessed and cultivated. They had safe areas by the coastline. They didn't have to leave their island in order to survive. Their island was enough. And in history, if we want to, let's say, distinguish 2 glorious periods of the Cretan history, then that would be the prehistoric period, what we call Minoan, because it is considered to be the first civilization that arose in Europe, on European land. And that's 1800, 1700, 1500 BC, with very big palatial complexes. And we have the throne room, storage areas. We have a script of theirs, not deciphered though. That's one period. And the other period is the Venetian, that takes us to the medieval days, from 1211, 13th century, up to 1669 precisely. If you go back to the map, because I think that history relies on geography. Geography is the most significant factor that will define the fate of a place. So Crete lies right on the intersection of two basic maritime routes, one coming from Istanbul and the Black Sea through the Aegean Sea down to the open Mediterranean, and the other starting from Venice, the Adriatic, going all the way to Israel, to the Holy Land. So Crete is exactly on that connection, on that intersection, diachronically. That's why it was the Romans mostly that realized, when up to the Roman days, the Mediterranean was kind of fragmented. It was the Greeks here, before the Hittites there, the Egyptians. The Romans united politically and administratively the Mediterranean. That's why Crete became one of the most important commercial hubs and centers that the Roman Empire had. And from that point onwards, Crete never lost this significance, reaching its highest point, its most important moment, during those Venetian days, from 13th to 1669. It is the north coast where we are, where you're going to see the four big cities. We're at the biggest city, Heraklion, named after Hercules, the mythical hero, Heraklion. However, the medieval name was Candia. So in some souvenir shops, in some shops, you will see Candia. That's the medieval Venetian name of this place. We're talking about the same city. And all cities lie on the north coast because it was less exposed to the rough sea than the south coast, the open Mediterranean. So all those trading routes from the Holy Land to the Adriatic, or that way as you're looking at me, Adriatic Venice to the Holy Land, somewhere here, they would cross through the north coast of Crete. We are in the middle, in the center of the island. So if you consider the north coastal line, we're at the center of it. And there are two more Venetian cities towards the west, that way, that served as a first level defense before a threat could arrive here at Candia, at Heraklion. And further east, there is one more port as well, Agios Nikolaos, St. Nicholas, that also has Venetian background. So the Venetians took really good care, we can say, of this island. And its identity is slightly altered. We will see some Venetian monuments, but imagine that if you were here back in the 1500s, 1600s, it was like walking in Venice without being in Venice. It was like a micrography of Venice. It had the palace of the duke, the palaces of the nobility, piazzas, squares here and there, cathedrals, Catholic cathedrals. It was like Venice outside Venice. It was that important, the city of Heraklion. So starting here, the first memory of the Venetian rule is that sea fort. We also call it Rocca al Mare, the stone on the sea. And the Turkish name is Kules. So among the locals, it is called Kules, but in history, you will also find it as Rocca di Mare, Rocca al Mare. It's a Venetian fort. It is connected with a wall to the main coast. and it protected the entrance to the harbor. And as we will be walking, you may see that on top of the gates there is a white relief. That's always the lion of St. Marcus of Venice, always. So what you're looking at was built in between the 1520s, 1540s. As well as the fortification wall, we have here part of the fortification wall. Those were the storage areas of the Venetian fleet, and in particular those that you see on your left, those were used for the storage of salt. Salt was very important back then. Already since the Roman days, it was considered to be a very precious commodity. That's why the mercenaries of the Roman army and many Roman soldiers were paid in salt, and that's why you say salary. That's the etymology, that's the origin of the word. So those were the salt storage areas of the Venetian city of Heraklion. Let's continue a little bit further. Now you see that the kids there, please.
Remember just a little bit of historical biblical facts that Paul came to Crete and he left his co-worker Titus here. They had some false teaching, they had some myths, they had some issues, and so basically the book of Titus is Paul's description of what is a healthy church. And some of the myths were because the Cretans, it's very picturesque. Those of us who went through that study of Titus, some of them are lazy, some of them are liars, some of them are, yeah. And this is not Paul saying this about this. He's quoting some of the poets and some of the people that have reported this to him. So Paul was here, and Titus was here, and so I can give you some more of that as we go along, but that's why we're here, is because this is one of the places that Paul just didn't visit. He established a number of churches here.
This phrase, if I'm allowed to add one comment, this phrase that all Cretans are liars, it is very similarly used in the letter to Titus. It's what we call the Epimenides paradox. So Epimenides was a Cretan philosopher, and he said all Cretans are liars. So that's the paradox. If he says the truth, then not all Cretans are liars. What I wanna stress on is, as we talked in Philippi about theater and the vocabulary deriving from the drama art, as we said in Corinth about the races and the rich and how he uses those metaphors and parallels in his letters in order to make himself more comprehensible. Again, here we can see how aware, how familiar he is of the local philosophy, the ancient philosophy, and he uses something that everybody would know back then, especially the Cretans, because Epimenides was Cretan himself. So he uses a phrase that was worldwide known back then in order to highlight his message. Once again, we see how he very wisely uses his knowledge of Greek culture in order to deliver his own message. So all Cretans are liars. It is what we call the Epimenides paradox in philosophy. whiter reliefs. This is the lion of Saint Marcus. And later we will cross the street again and enter this main pedestrian.
The lion, St. Marcus?
In Venice.
Venice.
They put it here because this was built on Venetians. Yeah. They put the seal up there. Here.
Yeah, play it again. Play the whole thing again. Start over.
It's so where you see the walk ending, right at the gate, there is a big white relief, and this shows the Lion of Saint Marcus of Venice. Because that was this bastion, this fort was built during the peak of the Venetian presence here. That was 1520s, 1540s. They were here up to 1669. So the city of Heraklion, it gained significance during the Roman days. Doesn't mean that there weren't other cities existing here before, but they were not necessarily here where we are now in Heraklion, because we know that the major city of the ancient Greek and the Roman days was Gortyna, Gortys, and actually we have found a wall there dating back to 5th century BC, which is the law of Gortyn. It's a codex, a legal codex that defines how certain business relations should be conducted after the death of one of the spouses, how the wealth is given to the heirs. It is quite innovative for the standards of those days. It's and it's the law of Gortys, the Codex of Gortys.
Spell that for us.
Gortys. Gortys.
T-Y-S. Bryce, that's your new nickname.
We'll make the same when we get back to bed. Yes, you can get closer to the fort. I don't remember if there's an entrance fee in order to get into the fortress, but you can walk till the entrance. Yes.
Can you get up onto the walkway?
I'll have to check if there's an entrance fee for that, and if it is open for the visitors, or if you just go till the gate. I will check that when we finish our tour. Now the Byzantine Greeks, we're talking about 600, 700 AD, they had fortified.
Time out. Christians were here.
Yeah.
Take us from BC AD up to the Middle Ages. Who conquered who?
So we have the Romans, and then with the partition of the Roman Empire, Crete ends up being part of the Eastern Roman Empire, what we call the Byzantine Empire. And we have the Byzantine Greeks here on the island of Crete who launched we can say a big scale fortification project. They add fortification walls. And after that, for about 150 years, we have the Arabs. We have the Arab conquest. So this is from 800 roughly up to 961 AD. The Arabs used the already existing walls and the moat that existed around the walls, and that's why they gave the name Rabt al-Handak. It means in Arabic the fortress with the moat, Rabt al-Handak. So when the Byzantines got the island back, Crete back, they renamed the city, somehow altering the Arabic name. So the Rabt al-Handak became Handaks in Greek. And that's why the Venetians, in 1204, we have the Fourth Crusade. And the Byzantine emperor asks the help of the Venetians in order to restore his throne. And that's how it was given to a nobleman called Bonifacio Monferraticus. And he sells the city of Heraklion to the Venetians. That's how the Venetians in 1211 become the owners of this island. It was the Byzantine emperor who, as a present, as a thank you gift, gave the island to that nobleman, and he in return gave that island, sold that island to Venice. And that's how we have the Venetian presence starting here in 1211 until 1669. 1669, the Ottomans managed to conquer this place after a siege that lasted 21 years. It was the last city on the island of Crete that fell into Ottoman hands, and that shows how desperate the Venetians were in order to keep that city.
Who runs it now?
The Greeks.
The Greeks? All right. Okay. We're caught up. All right, let's go.
And one more thing right here. If you see there's a panel here. It shows a moment of the Battle of Crete. That's probably the most important military event that took place here during World War II. The Battle of Crete. It's called Mercury Operation by the Nazi side, and we're talking about the 10 last days of May 1941. The Nazis decided that it would be quite easy and quick to conquer the island by launching a full airborne attack. And that happened for the first time in military history. So only parachuters started falling from the sky. The British that were here, they had managed to decode what we call the Enigma code. So they got some kind of information in advance. It wasn't properly used for our advantage, however. And the locals, as soon as they saw the Nazis falling with the parachuters falling from the sky, with anything that they had in their hands, like daggers and knives, kitchen knives, and any agricultural tool, they tried their best to repel that invasion. We didn't make it. However, the Battle of Crete is considered to be one of the most heroic acts against the Nazi occupation. And the Nazis decided that they would never again use this tactic of a full airborne attack, because the casualties that they had were disproportionately more for the army that they had to confront, the local Cretans. And of course, the surprise factor was gone for good, since it was already, that campaign was already launched once. So it's the Battle of Crete. It was, we have the major battlefields by the west side, where we also have the cemeteries of both the Nazis and the Commonwealth. But here in this part, that's why you see the fort in the photo. It's the coolest fort that you see in front of you. Right here we have the major military episodes taking place in Heraklion during that Battle of Crete. And Crete was crucial both for the Allies and the Nazis, because it's the closest land to Egypt. So if you want to launch any campaign towards Africa, you have to have Crete under your command. Let's continue. Although it's Sunday morning and mainstream shops are closed, we still have some souvenir shops that you can have a look later. We are now heading towards the Church of St. Titus. Yes, it has. So, in front of the Church of St. Titus, we'll say a few things about the Cretan olive oil. Heraklion. Heraklion. Yes, it's the biggest town, biggest city. Because when we're talking about population of the island, it's 600,000, and Heraklion itself has 250,000. It's a big city. It's number 3 after Athens and Thessalonica. Tourism, mostly tourism. It has services as any other big city, but it mostly relies on tourism and agriculture.
Family consistently and here for 2 times.
Crete is a popular destination to spend vacations, but it is expensive in real estate property, in real estate economy. Okay, let's get to the shade at the entrance of the church, and we'll talk about that. That was the major Venetian street. So you're literally in the very heart of Heraklion and the old town of Heraklion. So yes, that pedestrian walk that continues a little bit further up, this is that was the main Venetian street, and the width that it has now, we believe that matches the width that the original Venetian pedestrian walk would have. So imagine that along the way there would be the houses of the Venetian nobility, there would be piazzas, open squares, big churches, and later on we will see the loggia as well as the next building. You see the side of it on your right. So this is not the cathedral of Heraklion. We have another church, Saint Minas, at the other side of the old town that we consider the cathedral of the city. However, this one is the most famous and the busiest church when services take place or funerals of important Cretan personalities, then they will take place here in St. Titus Church. What you see is the building of 19th century, but we know that there used to be one small cathedral, one small church, already from Byzantine days. It was restored in 14th and 15th century by the Venetians. Nothing to be seen here. When the Ottomans came in 1669, they converted it into a mosque, and that was completely destroyed in 19th century after two big earthquakes that hit the island of Crete. So when it was rebuilt almost from scratch, actually, in the 1870s, 1880s, it was rebuilt as a mosque because the Cretans were liberated in 1898. In 1898, we have the autonomy. We have Crete as an autonomous region of the Ottoman Empire. That means that it was still under the auspices of the Ottoman Empire, the Turks. However, the administration, the governor, would come from Greece. So it was like a semi-independent republic. And the first governor of Crete was the Prince of Greece. Back then, George, his name. So in 1898, we have this semi-independence of Crete, and in 1913, after the Balkan Wars, Crete becomes fully integrated to the Greek state. So when that building was reconstructed, it was reconstructed in order to operate as a mosque. And only in 1913, when this place became part of Greece, did it become a church, a Christian Orthodox church dedicated to Saint Titus. The local architecture here is very Western-like, Venetian-like. That's why you see all those elements, the big windows, the reliefs up on top. Nothing like the churches in the monasteries, for example, that we saw in Meteora. It's more, the Venetian impact is still present. And inside, you will see that there are many pilgrims entering, not to attend the service, but inside we keep the relics of Saint Titus, the Orthodox Christian Church. Acquired those in 1966 back from Venice, and they are kept in this church, the relics of Saint Titus. I remind you that relics is a concept that is accepted and official in the Orthodox Christianity. That's why we're talking about the relics of Saint Titus here. That's about the building. Now you ask me two things, the eye and the olive oil. Let's start with the evil eye. The evil eye, it's present in most nations here in East Mediterranean. You'll find it in Turkey, you'll find it in Israel, you'll find it even in Egypt, with some local differentiations. There is no standard background, so each nation will give you its own explanation practically, but we all use it as like an amulet in order to keep the evil energy and away. It's like a protective element. That's why you'll see that many babies have bracelets with evil eyes. We have evil eye hanging from the mirror of our car. We have evil eye, that blue eye hanging in the above our door. It's something that it's very widely accepted, kind of a superstition, but it is the only one that the Orthodox Church officially accepts that exists, the evil eye. That's why you will not see an evil eye in the churches, but we know that the church does not condemn its concept. Now that's about the evil eye. It's like a protective amulet. And the olive oil. The Cretan olive oil is considered to be one of the finest. And when we were driving through that olive grove towards Delphi, I remember, did I tell you about that Cretan experiment, the experiment of Rockefeller Institute? So the doctors, the scientists, reached the conclusion that the success of that experiment for the Cretans relied on the consumption of olive oil. And in Crete, they are proud enough to say that they have one of the best qualities of olive oil, not just across Greece, but across the world. So they achieve really low acidity levels that makes it really high extra virgin olive oil. If you're interested in buying olive oil, then Crete is a good destination for that. It's a good option. So, do you want to continue like 10 more minutes and then you will enjoy your free time and maybe come to a Venetian building of 15th and 16th century? Imagine that that was kind of a lobby, like a reception where businesses could be conducted, social moments could take place. The noblemen would gather and discuss about the current situation, about social things. So it would be like the English club, the clubs of the Englishmen of late 19th century, something like that, right on the central street. And at the back, if you go around the corner, there was the Venetian, the place where the armor was kept in the gunpowder storage. Nowadays, it is the city hall of Heraklion. It is called Armaria. So the loggia is still used for social and cultural events. It was completely destroyed because it was in really bad condition in late 19th century, early 20th century. There was some misunderstandings. I'm going to put it very gently like that, between the local Greek authorities and the Italians who wanted to restore it. So it was demolished within one night. I put it very gently. And we reconstructed it again in early 20th century. Venice, there was the International Fair of Rome in early 20th century. Venice participated, and its kiosk was a copy of the loggia of Crete, of Heraklion. So for the Venetians, it is a building that important for their cultural heritage. And that pedestrian walk ends where you can see the end of it on your right. There's a big fountain, the Morosini fountain, as we say, dating back to 17th century. This is, and there are alleys here and there with cafeterias, taverns, bar. They get much busier during the evening hours. The heart of the city lies here, right on that street. In early 20th century, so 1910s.
So, you keep it on. I'm just wanting to ask you. So that building with the black lettering, that looks like it's yeah. Is that laser operation, eczema, and Botox, and what's the next one down? The eye lift, and does it do anything for double chins?
Cysphyxy is when you make it more tight. Sculpture. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I was just yeah. They're not open today.
Got to be back on the boat in an hour.
Okay.
So
You don't have time.
the upper capitals, yes, they are Doric with simple squares. So if you want to have a look at the fountain, you just continue like till the end of those coffee shops, and then all the way back until the water, the port, and then to the right. I'm going to drop that pin. I'm going to send you that link. If you go down, if you go down the street where the port is, there is a taxi station. Yes, where we stopped and talked about the Battle of Crete, and this is the taxi station. So you can always tell them cruise terminal, and they will drop you off at the cruise terminal. It's going to be 10 euros per cab. It's 4.
Is this the church?
No, the church is right at the end of this. The church. She was asking about the church.
Yeah. Where at?
It's right down. Go down past this next building, and you'll see it to the right.
To the right, thank you. Tell Pat to stop. Yeah. It's right here. That's it.
Something that I would add, in addition to all that, is that Titus is referenced in several Paul writings. It's in his letter to the Galatians and the 2 Corinthians. There's references there. He's also referenced in one of Paul's letters to Timothy.